Hi, my name is Neil Kelleher. In this video I'll be going over the body weight squat. I'll show you some exercises that you can work, help make it easier to work towards squat. I'll also show you some body awareness techniques that you can use to target particular muscles while doing the squat, particularly the butt muscle. And I'll also show you some exercises so that you can hopefully work around knee pain in the squat, foot pain, and also develop balance awareness. And I'll also include some exercises for working towards the one-legged squat, either pistol squat, and also I think it's a movement called the shrimp, where instead of the leg forward, the leg will be behind you. But anyway, one of the ways that I often include a sort of a sneak attack squat in my yoga classes is from sitting to actually practice rocking forward into a seated squat. And for that exercise, sometimes I see people with their knees together for a rolling up to sitting from rolling up into a squat from a seated position. One thing that's crucial is having the knees apart. You could also have the feet turned out. And then from here, you try to reach your torso between your legs, and you need to bring your feet back towards your hips. So you can just practice, reach forward and sit down, reach forward and sit down. And this is something, some people end up doing something like that. That's fine, just practice it. It can be a fun way to work from getting from a seated position to a squatting position. But anyway, once you are comfortable with a squat, one of the things that I personally like to work on is in the weightlifting circles called an ass to the grass squat, or ATG squat. And for that, you need to be flexible enough in the knees, i.e. you can close the knees completely so that your bum gets as close as possible to the floor. It's not going to touch the floor unless your thighs are significantly longer than your shin bones. But in this position, your thighs are going to, the back of the thighs are going to contact the shins, and that's what stops you from going down. So if you can't get your back of the thighs to the shins, if you can't get down this low, one thing that may help is to practice kneeling. And so that this exercise, so working towards this position, is a bit easier. What I suggest, start with your hands on the floor, your hips lifted. What you can do is slowly sink down, slowly at the same speed I'm doing this now. And then when you find the point where it starts to be uncomfortable, come back up. Then you can slowly go down again. And see if you can stay in the uncomfortable position just for a little bit longer. And what you may find helpful is to actively press your feet, the fronts of your feet, into the floor so the front of your ankles feel strong. You can try and take your hands off of the floor and then go forward again, rest, and then slowly sit up taller. You can lift your ribs up away from your pelvis, lengthen your neck, press your feet down so your quads are strong, and then come forward. This, you may need to practice a few times fairly regularly over a couple of days, weeks, or even months, until eventually you can get your buttocks to your heels, and then from there you can work at just holding the pose. You could do something like inhale, reach up, press your feet down, exhale, relax. Now from there, another exercise which may be helpful, particularly if you have tight calves, and that would be another thing that may limit you in this position, is if you cannot get your heels to the floor, maybe because of tight calves or tight Achilles tendon, might be just your body geometry isn't suitable for this position. But anyway, what you may find helpful is to tuck your toes under, and again, same exercise, work towards being able to sit your butt on the floor here. And this can be excruciating on the toes and the soles of the feet. So one of the ways you can work towards dealing with the pain is press your toes down, maybe lengthen your spine at the same time, relax your spine. So press your toes down, make them active, lift your ribs, lengthen your neck, and then relax. If having tried this exercise, and if you are able to get into this position, one exercise you can do is maybe, if possible, if you need to, start with your feet turned out, have your knees turned out so that your knees point in the same direction as your toes. And one exercise that may be helpful is, in general, you don't want if you have your feet parallel, you don't want your knees to be collapsed inwards, so something like this. Too far out is also not advised, just because it can place stress either on the tendons on the inside of the knee or the outside. So one of the things that you can do while prior to practicing squats is to do something called a shin roll, and this is involving rolling the shins out. And as I roll my shins out, what can happen is the inside edges of the feet will roll out. And then as I roll my feet inwards, the inside edges of my feet collapses. And what you can do is just roll in and out with your shins. Do it slowly, roll in, inhale. Sorry, roll your shins out, inhale. Roll your shins in, exhale. Practice getting used to feeling the position of your knee relative to your feet. And then see if you can feel the position where your knees are approximately pointing in the same direction as your toes. From there, press down through the base of the big toe. Another action you can do, so once you've got that action, you can practice that by itself. Also the fibula, which is along the bone on the outside of the lower shins. If you've got the awareness, you can either focus on pulling up here on the center of the outside edges of the feet, or if you can imagine feeling the bone, imagine pulling the bone down the leg. That in combination with pointing the knee straight ahead and pressing down through the base of the big toe may be enough to keep your knees relatively safe while doing squats. Now, one exercise I like to do, which you can do from the low squat position, is if you reach your arms forward, move your ribs up away from your pelvis, lengthen your neck, and come up to a half squat with the hips at the same height as the knees. Again, keep your spine long, neck long. You can pause here for a breath and then slowly lower down. Notice the speed which I'm doing it. And at the bottom you can relax. This isn't advised. If you're doing weighted squats, do not relax at the bottom. You may find as you relax, your spine tends to curve forward, and this may curve under as well. And in a body weight squat, like I'm doing right now without any weight, this can actually be quite relaxing. You can just hold this position with your feet turned out, read a book or while you're waiting for something. This can actually be quite a relaxing pose. You can learn to relax in this position. But anyway, turn your feet parallel. So you can relax in this position. Then if you like, turn your feet parallel, lengthen your spine, reach your arms forward, lift up to a half squat again. And what you can do is, some would suggest my knees are a little bit too far forward here. Again, this can be dangerous for the knees. If you have your feet activated, you give, that stabilizes the shin and that lessens the risk to your knees. However, if you want to lessen the risk to your knees even further, you can reach the hips and knees back. You'll have to reach your torso forward so that your feet stay balanced on the floor, and then you can lower down, or you can go the opposite direction and slowly stand up. Now, from a body awareness standpoint, one of the things that you can focus on while doing a squat is keeping your weight even between the fronts and backs of your feet. So for example, you could do it while standing, perhaps with your knees slightly bent. You could practice rocking forward. In this position, I can feel the fronts of my feet are pressing down. My heels have virtually no weight. I can lift, pressing down through them, I can lift my heels. So that means my weight is centered over the fronts of my feet. If I rock back, then the weight's all through the back of my heels. I can lift the fronts of my feet evenly. If I center my weight between the fronts and the back of the feet, here I can feel here pressing down with almost the same amount of pressure as here, so that means I'm centered. So one of the things, the simple things, you can practice rocking back and forward to get used to feeling your feet, and then once you've got a fair idea, when you're actually doing a squat, you could reach your hips back, and so that you keep the weight even front and back of your feet, as you reach your hips back, your rib cage will tilt forward. You might almost do it automatically. If you find when you reach your hips back, you're still tilting back, then reach your hands forward. And here again, you can rock forward and backwards as you need to get the weight centered on your feet. You can go a little bit lower, again rock back and forward if you need to. Find the position where the weight is even on your feet. Here again, thighs parallel. I'm automatically rolling my pelvis forward so my back arches a little bit more. I'd suggest reaching your arms forward, keeping your spine long, and then slowly going lower, 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 whilst trying to keep the weight even on the back of your feet. If you like, relax for a moment. Notice as I relax, my tailbone tucks under, my pelvis tilts back, and this rounds my lower back. Then from there to come up, I lengthen. As I lengthen, my knees go forward a little bit, and I tilt my pelvis forward so my tailbone tilts back. That straightens my spine. Again, I'm finding the weight, the position where my weight is even front to back. I go up slowly, adjusting if I need to, pause, and go all the way up, adjusting if I need to, keeping the weight even front to back, and standing up. Just a point here, if you're doing a lot of squats and you need to rest for a moment, you might like to do a forward bend. If you're doing a forward bend, one of the actions that you can practice doing to help your forward bend is to focus on feeling your sitting bones. Try to spread your sitting bones. You may find as you spread your sitting bones automatically lift. That tilts your pelvis forward, and that increases your forward bend. So it's sort of like a relaxation pose in that you're resting from the squat, but it's also practicing muscle activation at the same time. And then what you could do, if you hold this position as sort of a supported squat, try spreading your sitting bones. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the video or not, but as I spread my sitting bones, which were right here, I'm pulling them towards the greater trochanter, the top of the thigh bone here, so try and spread out. I feel a little bit of tension. Might feel like your whole butt muscle is activating. So what you could try doing at the bottom of a squat, see if you can spread your sitting bones there, and then stand up while keeping your sitting bones spread. Another action, try spreading at the top with your legs straight. Keep spreading your sit bones as you squat down. And then what you might find feels better is to pull your sitting bones inwards towards each other as you stand up. What I'd suggest, play around with both of those actions. So first of all, try spreading the sitting bones, keep them spread while you squat down, and then lift up. Then try the opposite. Try keeping your sitting bones squeezed together as you squat down. Personally, I find squatting down, keeping the sitting bones together doesn't really feel that good. It may change later on. What I suggest, try spreading them as you squat down, try pulling the sitting bones in as you squat up. What you may find is that helps you to activate your gluteus maximus. Actually, what I feel when you're spreading the sitting bones is you're actually activating a muscle called the obturator internus. That in turn may make it more likely for you to activate gluteus maximus, the butt muscle. And if that is one of the reasons for doing squats, what you could do, rather than just relying on the position or the way that you're doing the squat to activate gluteus maximus, you could try deliberately squeezing your butt muscle as you go down. So clench it, keep it clenched, keep it clenched, keep it clenched. And then as you stand up, squeeze it. You may find as you get to this position, you can squeeze it a little bit more, and it feels like it's almost pinching. It's like it's squeezing the back of your hip joint, squeezing the back of your hip joints closed. That gives you a bit more impetus to stand up, to come up in a squat. One of the reasons I like to work on the squats is I think it helps to make the knee joints stronger. May also help alleviate lower back pain, and I believe the reason it does that is because it helps to work on the strength and control of the hip stabilizer muscles, basically any of the muscles of the hips. And one of the ways that you can work on each side of the hips is to work towards a one-legged squat, so that you develop both sides of the hips equally, or work towards equalizing both sides of the hips so that both are independently strong. That may help your regular squat, may help you work towards alleviating back pain if you do suffer from low back pain. But anyway, how do you work towards it? Here's a couple of suggestions. One, if you can get down into this position, one of the things you can try is to come out of the slack position, so lengthen, reach your arms forward, and then in this position, activate your feet as well. So roll the shins out a little bit so your arches lift, pull down on your fibula, root down through the base of the big toe. And then from this position, what you can try doing is shift your weight to one leg, relax. Notice I'm not going all the way over. Shift your weight to the other leg, relax. And then as you practice, you might only go a little bit, a little bit, and then each time you can go a little bit further, then relax a little bit further, and see if you can lift the leg up. And normally I like to do is reach the foot forward. If you want, you can just try reaching the leg up, and rather than just like this, see if you can control it. Keep your spine long, reach your arms forward or even to the side if you like, lift the leg, control it, put it down, shift your weight to center, and then go over to the other side. Lift your foot, control it. I'm tilting over to the side. That may not be too important to begin with. If you like, reach the leg forward, come back, and then back to center. And then what you can do is, if you find that you're tilting over, if you're doing this in front of the mirror so it's easier to see, what you can then work towards is getting more of your hips over. And then what you'll find then is your hips are almost behind your ankle, and then you can maybe stay a little bit more upright when you're lifting one leg. From there, what you can do is go into a half squat, legs parallel, arms forward, do the same thing, shift a little bit, go back to center. Notice the speed at which I'm doing, I'm not just going fast and then back to center. Go slowly, enjoy the sensation, go back to center, and then go a little bit further. And rather than something like this, try to move your hips. Try to get your hips, feel that, behind your knee, back to center, hips behind your knee, and then see if you can lift up, the center. Work towards this gradually. Take a few weeks or months to work towards doing this. And then what you can do, so just going back a bit, what you could do next, instead of trying to stand up, you could try, so if you can do this relatively easy, and this might be another way you can practice working towards the low position of with the leg forward. It's called a pistol squat. But with the low version of the pistol squat, you can try rolling up into a pistol squat like so. Whoops. Do be careful of your knee. If you find your knees painful, it means that you're not stabilizing something. One of the key areas may be your foot. So as you roll up, as you put weight on your foot, try to stabilize your foot. And that can be a little bit difficult, but try stabilizing your foot. The other area you can try stabilizing is your hip. So as you come up, make your hips strong. And that almost deserves a video in itself. But the main thing I'd suggest for now is to start by seeing if you can squeeze your butt. Other exercises you can do, if you're standing, if you're doing a forward bend, you could try widening your hips so that your outer thighs activate. And then try pulling your thighs inward so your inner thighs activate. So from the back, outer thighs, inner thighs, outer thighs, inner thighs. Just to get you used to feeling both sets of muscles activated. And then if you shift onto one leg in this position, you can try activating outer and inner thigh on this leg at the same time. Once you've practiced that a few times, focus, imagine the feeling in here. So in this case, my right leg, as I go up, I'm going to try and inner and outer thigh, and then relax. Inner and outer thigh, foot, relax. See if that helps you to work towards a one-legged squat that doesn't cause you knee pain. Now, next goal, you could start from the bottom. So from this position, slowly come up. If you can do this position, you can try slowly standing up. Once you can do that, you can work leg forward, slowly coming down into a squat, and then repeating. And usually what I like to do, level I'm at, I alternate. So I'll either go up and down, switch legs up and down, or I'll start from the top, go down, and then up, switch legs, down and up, and just switch legs. Once you get better at it, you can do one leg for, say, a set of 5 or a set of 10. Another exercise that may be helpful if you cannot do this one or if you're working towards it, I have no name for this. It's sort of like a lunging squat, except, so I'll reach the free leg back, I'll reach my arms forward. I'm going to keep my weight even front to back on the standing leg. And I'm going to slowly lower. Notice the speed at which I'm doing. It's not just dropping down. So stay aware, keep your spine long, keep your arms long. And what I'm trying to do is allow my knee, my back knee, just to kiss the floor. there, and then come back up. And try that, and then switch legs and repeat. And when you do that, initially I spend a lot of time practicing being aware of my knees. So an example, in this pose, if I want to lift the knee, rather than just going like that, what I'll do is I'll take up the slack first. I'll press down through the foot. I'll take up the slack just to the point where I feel the skin of my knee is about to lift off of the floor. So that'd be one action, taking up the slack. And then here, I can lift a little bit if I want, or I can go all the way to straight. But just something simple like that. Take up the slack, feel the point at which my knee is about to just leave the floor, and then add more tension and lift my knee. Something like that can make it easier for me to then just feel the point at which this knee is just about to touch the floor. Notice here how far forward this knee is. So I'm going to reach back a little bit, whoops, there, and then come up. It's humid here in Taiwan. But anyway, that's another way. Sometimes I'll do that exercise first and then the pistol squats after, and I find that makes the pistol squats a little bit easier. So one more. I tend to shy away from doing lots and lots of reps in exercises until I find that if I'm doing something like climbing a hill, I find it difficult, then I might decide that, okay, now it's time to boost my squatting or other exercises, or maybe I'll start just doing squats with weights. If you're going to do with weights, do start off lightly, focus on feeling your body. With body weight squats, you don't have to worry too much about the upper body. I'd suggest keeping your upper body long so that there's a little bit of tension from creating space in your connective tissue. When you're doing squats, as you do them, I'd suggest trying to do with weight, try to do them at the same slow speed so you can stay mindful, both where your weight is, foot action so that you're keeping your feet and ankles active so your knees stay safe. Also focusing on the way you use your hips, or your outer inner thighs active, is your butt active, maybe even the back of the hamstrings, are they active, and that can take some practice. But the other thing is, because if you're doing a back squat, the weight's on the back, you need some tension in your torso, and that can be both on your lumbar spine, so you'll have to find a way to activate the abs. If you create space first, even with weight on, if you've unwrapped the weight, if you find a way, you might need to adjust the position of your pelvis. Do you roll it back a little bit, roll it forward, feel your lumbar spine, feel your abs, engage your abs. So it's easier to engage your abs, lift your ribs. From there, engage your abs and find a position that feels comfortable on your low back, so it doesn't feel like there's any sharp pain or just discomfort. You can do the same with the rib cage, even with the shoulders. You might need to keep the shoulders active. If you can, position the bar somewhere comfortable, perhaps on here if you like. You might find a way to position the bar so it's not pressing on any part of your spine. But anyway, if you're doing just sticking to body weight squats, one way to make it a bit more interesting, you can go up a little bit, pause for a moment, go up a little bit, pause, 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 wait for a few moments, if that feels comfortable, stand up, and then do the same thing coming down, pause. And notice I'm shifting a little bit here. I'm trying to find a position so that the sensation in both hips is reasonably equal, the same. I'm going to go down. You can feel the knees as well. Do the knees feel the same? Do the hips feel the same? You could try turning your hips a little bit, wiggle side to side, shift side to side, go a little bit lower. Same thing, move it so that both legs feel the same. Maybe there's tension, not so much tension here, more on my butt side, top and inner thighs. Go down a little bit, again, adjust it and adjust it. And that's the way, one of the ways that I work towards developing a better feel for my body. So rather than just going, yes, going up, squat, 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 try to do it slowly, consciously work at feeling your body so that you can apply that body awareness to anything that you're doing, so that you keep your body safe. But so that you can use it more effectively with less effort, and so you can have hopefully more fun doing whatever it is that you're doing. Anyway, hope that helps. Namaste.